Test. Welcome to the Maleko Flash podcast. I'm Maleko.
I'm Flash. How come you never used that sound effect
The
before
applause
for the
at the beginning of the show? I figured because we're in the live performance hall here at iHeartRadio, this is kind of a perfect, just the crowd goes wild.
Hey, Angela and Chris, pay attention. Do it again.
Do it again. That's it. That's it. By the way, our audience of two today, ladies and gentlemen, our biggest fan, she runs the Maleko and Flash show InstaFan account. Please welcome Angela to the show. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah.
It's really a fan account.
It is really a fan account.
We had nothing to do with it.
And
we don't pay her.
We're so glad that she does that for us. And joining her is Chris the Mooch.
Boo.
Chris the Mooch over here. He heard we were pouring wines today, and so Chris Mills popped into the studio. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Our special guest today represents the entire collection of Ménage wines. And
what kind of wine?
Ménage
Oh, really?
Ménage
Oh, interesting.
Lots of fun. These delicious wines, we're going to taste at least 8 of them today, maybe more, and we're not going to spit. We're gonna drink them down.
We swallow, Lauren.
We're going to enjoy
we
it.
swallow.
We're going to enjoy it. So here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome our guest today, Mark from Ménage. Thank you so much for being here, buddy. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today. This is going to be an exciting show. We don't normally sample more than like 3 beverages in a show.
We're going to
So
die.
the fact that we're going for 8 is pretty spectacular.
You guys got quite a reputation. I think you'll be able to handle it.
Well, that's true. It's all true.
We got to hydrate. Maleko, drink your water.
It's all true.
We got to hydrate.
So today, of course, we are streaming to you live from the iHeartRadio Music Hall here, the financial, what is it, the
Hawaiian Financial Music Hall.
It's on the sign
It's
behind
the thing
me.
right behind you.
The Hawaiian Financial Music Hall. And we want to thank the folks there at Hawaiian Financial for helping us put this together today. And, of course, if you want to subscribe to the show right now is a good time to do that. Hit that subscribe button or hit that follow button wherever you're watching. We are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and
whatever the kids are on these days.
Yeah, we're on all of them. So go ahead and check it out.
We don't know what any of those things mean, but we're on it.
You don't, because you're an old man.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to drink to that.
I do, because I produce the show. So we'll do that. Lauren, by the way, directing the show for us today.
Lauren!
Also excited.
Lauren.
Also excited that we are doing wine today, because who isn't? Let's be honest, shall we?
Wine's a rarity for us, so we're really excited.
It is. It's exciting. Flash doesn't like beer, so we rarely get to do any sort of specialty shows because the first thing that people go, oh, I run a brewery, and Flash goes, no interest. And I love beer. I love wine. I love alcohol in general.
No, Flash is an expert in spirits, so.
Yeah. That's the only thing he can be attached to the word expert on. Absolutely. So, Mark, first of all, you're not actually with the wine, with the winery, Ménage à Trois. You represent a whole collection of spirits, right?
Correct. Yeah, my wife Teresa and I moved to Hawaii in 1990 from California, and we decided that we wanted to move here and start our own beverage brokerage company. Specializing in wines, spirits, and some non-alcoholic brands.
What was that last one? Non-alcoholic. Get out of here.
Well, they're good to mix with some of the spirits. So.
I didn't know there was such a thing.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty big business, between all the bars and, consumers, especially with COVID over the last year, making all their cocktails at home, for the most part. So, yeah, and we represent great brands like Jose Cuervo and 1800 Tequila, Kraken Rum, and a number of some super premium tequilas, mezcals, and so forth.
I think we need to have. I think we need to have him back on the show.
Way to bury the lead, Mark. We could have started with that, but hey, we'll ease into it. All right, we'll start with the Ménage à Trois, and then we'll work backwards to tequila.
There you go.
Usually, one leads to the other.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
Actually, so let's go back here to our audience of one today. Angela wrote in. We were talking back in the day about being an audience of one, and we said, hey, all you got to do is email Flash. Is that what you did? You just said, hey, I want to be on the show.
Yes, I emailed Flash.
Yes, she emailed me.
She emailed Flash. In of doing that, she wound up being a part of the show, and she brought with her her own food because she knew we were going to be drinking today. Who?
But it's Le Shark.
Oh, the Le Charcuterie Boys.
Blaze's company.
Like the only people that do charcuterie in Hawaii, and they do it in a box. That's beautiful. So I'm glad you brought that.
All the stuff.
There will be lots of alcohol served today.
Yeah.
In fact, look at this. There's already a glass of wine on the table.
Hold on, because we always forget.
The word of the day?
Yes.
Let's do it. So, Mark, here's the way that works. You come up with the word that we're going to say. We're going to try and sneak it into conversation today. And every time we hear the word of the day, we're going to cheer, we're going to make some noise, and we're going to drink. And we're going to
Don't you dare say the word of the day is wine. I will kill you.
All right. The word of the day is Tua.
Tua.
All right, Tua.
Didn't see that one coming. We got a football fan here.
All right.
Yeah,
so
my
here's
son,
Tua U. There you go.
Yeah, my son actually plays football for Florida State University. He's a quarterback.
That's right.
And Tua obviously has done what he's done in football, and they're really good friends. And that's as easy as it gets in the Polynesian
Your son grew up here? You grew up here?
Yeah, went to
Where'd
Mililani
he
High
go?
School.
Mililani.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got a fan.
Wow,
so
what a
Mackenzie.
coincidence.
So, he's playing his senior year this year at Florida State. So, looking forward
And by
to
the way, he's pretty damn good. I mean, you're sort of
He's good.
underselling him there a little bit. He's
Proud
pretty damn
Papa
good.
without being a proud Papa. But come on, let's list off some stats here. He's actually done really, really well for himself.
Thank you. Well, Mililani, they were fortunate. They lost the state championship when he was a sophomore against Punahou, and then they were able to beat him
Always
in the state
Punahou.
championship the next year. And then at UCF, they had a 25-game run, and they had a horrible injury, but he's almost over 2.5 years back on his recovery, and he's been cleared to play. And we'll see how all that goes come September 5th when they open up against Notre Dame. So,
Well, Tua to that.
yeah,
Tua
is worth the toast.
Tua to that.
For sure.
That's
Sure is.
fantastic.
That's a rough first game back. Notre Dame right out of the chute.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
So this is, what are we drinking here? It's
All right.
sweet.
Yeah, let me give you a little background on Ménage à Trois. So everybody has their own definition of Ménage à Trois, and
Don't we?
there's actually
Pretty sure mine is different than yours.
There's a purpose to the name, and I remember when I first started to represent it. All the different reactions I got when the wine started showing up on the grocery store shelves here in Hawaii. But I think it was 1996, 1997. Trinchero, who's the parent company for large wine brands like Sutter Home, Ménage à Trois, Joel Gott, bought the Folia Deux winery, which was located up north of St. Helena, up in Napa Valley, off Highway 29. And Folia Deux in French means shared fantasies. So they had some super premium wines with the basic varietals like Chardonnay, Cabernet, and Pinot Noir, and so forth. And they decided to have some fun with the wine brand, and they decided that they were going to call it Ménage à Trois. And the premise of the wine was one of two things. Either it would be a blend of 3 different varietals, like their mainstay, the Ménage Red, which is the most popular, one of the most popular red wines in the United States as well as Hawaii, is a blend of
humble brag.
It's a blend of Zinfandel, Cabernet, and Merlot. So they have the Zinfandel as the base grape, and then they add the Cabernet and Merlot to really give it a nice backbone. And that's why one of the reasons it sells so well. Or it's a blend of 3 different growing regions on the varietal wines, like the Pinot Grigio, the Chardonnay, and the Cabernet, and so forth.
So it would be the one varietal, but from the same grape from 3 different regions.
Yeah. So it's a Ménage à Trois. It's a blend of 3, either.
I thought it was like, I knew nothing about it, and I thought, well, it must be 3 grapes.
Yeah.
It must be 3 different varietals.
You got it
of
exactly
grapes.
right.
Because I'm smart.
Yeah, there you go. and that's what it is. So it's either 3 different grapes or 3 different growing regions. So
there you go.
And it started out, I got involved in it in, I think, 2003, 2004.
2003 or
2004? There you go.
Mark, we're going to need more wine.
There you go. And, Tua's getting some good pub today. This is great.
That's awesome.
But the Ménage Red was the first wine, and I started tasting some people on it, and we went to some of the stores, and Tamura's was the first retailer in Hawaii to jump on it. And they started selling like hotcakes,
Yeah.
you know, and then the rest of the chains picked it up. And
Tamura's is sort of always at the forefront locally of
they're really good
of
at
the new hot
developing
stuff.
brands. Yeah, them and Fujioka's are both really good at that. So,
Did you get any pushback from the name? Because from a marketing standpoint, it's on the one hand very bold, but it could potentially you could shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. There were a couple people say, I'm never going to buy that because of the name. But for every one or two of those, there was 100 people that loved it. So I think that it really played well. And where I knew we had a really great brand, because I'm in stores quite often and checking. I like to watch what consumers buy. And I'll ask them, like, you know, if you don't mind, I don't mean to bug you, but can you tell me, like, why did you make that decision to buy that wine or that spirit? And I really learn a lot by doing that, to see how they think or how they were influenced to make their buying decision. And on Ménage à Trois, what happened, it was young consumers, it was older consumers, it was men, it was women, it was just like all over the place. It was everybody. Yeah. It was like, oh my God, we got something here.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it for a few reasons. One, it's available everywhere.
Right.
I mean, you can get it at Tamura's. You can get it at 7-Eleven.
Yep.
You know, you can get it
Costco,
at Safeway. You can get it at Costco. The price point is perfect. You know, it's right on the middle shelf. You know, it's right there where I like to live. You know, because I drink a lot of wine, I don't necessarily need to spend $50 a bottle.
Right. No, absolutely.
That's an expensive night at home, and it's unnecessary. Yeah. Especially, you know, when you're coming home with maybe 2 bottles. You know, you're something for early.
Two bottles?
Oh, boy.
Hey,
that's great.
I'm out of wine, so
holy crap!
Don't say the word of the day
I'll talk
anymore.
about the first wine, and I'm going to pour the second one too.
This show is going to go. Show's going to be over in 20 minutes.
This is, by the way, this is our spit jar. This is you know, proper wine tasting requires that you expunge the wine from your mouth.
Oh, that's a good word.
So you don't get wasted. And in today's show, of course, we might not be doing that so much. This will be a clean jar.
Yeah, just a little bit about the price-value relationship. You're absolutely right. The owner, the Trinchero family, they came to Napa Valley in 1948. They moved right after World War II ended to New York City in 1945, moved to Napa, and they started a wine empire from scratch. And their whole premise is they want to, if it's a $15 bottle, you know, $1 bottle of wine, they want to sell it for 10, like Ménage.
Yeah.
You know, and basically the quality you get, it over-delivers on quality consistently every time you drink it. Now,
I would venture to say that there is now a growing selection of premium wines that are available around that $10 to $15 price point, more so than were there, you know, when my parents were buying wine. You know, at early on, it's like if you didn't spend $30 on a bottle of wine, you were cheap. You know,
I mean, your parents were buying like mead and ale. Wine didn't even exist yet.
Well, you have two opposite extremes, because you have the people that buy low end, you know, and then that whole middle range, like you said, that's really developed over the years. I can remember, I'll date myself a bit. The first one I ever had was Boone's Farm apple wine. You know, back in,
See, I've had that too. I didn't know that was actually wine.
Oh yeah, it really wasn't, but it was flavored something. They called it wine.
It's like sugar flavored
Strawberry
gasoline.
Hill,
Boy, you just took me back to freshman year in college.
Yeah.
We'd buy a couple of bottles of Boone's Farm, and we'd hang out under the bridge.
There you go.
Under the bridge.
Yeah.
In a van down by the river.
It was $4.20 a bottle.
Most people start with sweet wines, and we're actually going to taste those last today, and I'll explain the reason when we get to it. But most people start with sweet wines because the Pepsi generation, people have sweet beverages growing up, so it's a natural thing to start with. And then once your palate develops into the varietals and some of these really great blended wines, then it's hard to go back.
Well, tell us what we're drinking right now.
Yeah.
What happened to the
go
bottle?
through
What we're going to do is I'm doing a power tasting with you guys today. And we're going to try 8 different wines from Ménage à Trois. The first is 100% Pinot Grigio. They call it Limelight Pinot Grigio.
So we
that
we
was
already had.
the first wine you had. Yeah,
Maleko
nice,
pounded
light,
that.
crisp. Great way to start the tasting. It's a good aperitif wine. Aperitif means you can drink it by itself, or certainly with any kind of, Pacific Rim style food. It goes great. And it's just, I call it a porch coiffer, type wine, or beach coiffer if you can.
I like that word too, coiffer.
So you just stick a straw in the bottle and just consume it that way. Just sip it right down.
Yeah. But what you're going to do, the second one I just poured is the Ménage Gold. It's called Chardonnay. This is 100% Chardonnay.
This is the one we have now.
It's the one you have now, and there's definitely a distinct nose difference and taste profile difference between Pinot Grigio and Chardonnay.
Please explain that to me, because I am a noob when it comes to these types of things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, each different varietal, has its own, character profile as far as the nose.
This is not as
You
sweet.
smell it, or when you drink it. But you're drinking Chardonnay. When
more
you're
buttery.
Oh, yeah, it's 100%
100%
Chardonnay.
Chardonnay.
You
It's
taste
great.
it, you know what it is.
Same price as the Ménage Red. I mean, it's a really good value on a Chardonnay.
Not a blend then, right?
No,
I mean,
that's
this is just a...
3 different growing regions.
Okay.
So
Of the
You're
same,
still getting the
of the
three-
same grape.
yeah, we'll get to the blends here in a bit. But yeah, it's 100% Chardonnay. Like the Limelight Pinot Grigio is 100% Pinot Grigio.
So the Pinot is sweeter. The
It's got a little
Chardonnay
more
is,
flavor. Yeah, a
was
little
more buttery.
Right. Well, I would say the Chardonnay probably has a little more butter to it than the
Yeah, no, that's what I
Pinot
said.
Grigio.
Yeah, the Pinot is sweeter and the Chardonnay is more buttery.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You read
Less
the prep
sweet.
notes.
There you
Look at
go.
You're like,
Less sweet.
there's a little
Yeah,
buttery. Wait till we
but-
get to the nuts. He's going to love that.
But you can taste. I mean, Chardonnay is pretty distinct in its taste profile, and it's one of the drier white wines. So, wanted to wet your palate with that. Open
Nice.
it up with the 2 whites, and then
Like
what
that.
we're going to do, we'll start with the soft red with the Pinot Noir,
Mm-hmm.
and what we call this is the Ménage à Trois Luscious Pinot Noir. So they're all
Okay.
going to have a name: Limelight Pinot Grigio, the Gold Chardonnay. This is called Luscious Pinot Noir. So we want to
Okay.
pour this into your other red wine glass.
Oh, studio question from
Okay.
Chris Mills.
All right. You're going to have to speak up, Chris.
Is Chardonnay the most selling?
Is Chardonnay the best selling white wine?
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's interesting in America. Sauvignon Blanc used to be number 2 up until about 4 or 5 years ago, and then Pinot Grigio surpassed it about 4 or 5 years ago. So it's Chardonnay is a strong number 1, and followed by Pinot Grigio, and then Sauvignon Blanc is the top-selling white wines.
So as far as Chardonnay and the Pinot goes, what would you recommend for pairing where what like food items would make more sense with Chardonnay versus food items that would make more sense with the Pinot?
Okay.
Because to someone like
Yeah.
me, they're similar enough to where I'm
Right.
like, oh, I'm just going to
Yeah,
order
so
white
like-
with seafood.
Yeah.
Would you
And
recommend
call it a day.
like the Cool Ranch Doritos or the Cheetos? Because that's how I roll, right? I mean, I'm grabbing a bag of snacks.
Depends
and
what your options
and
are.
a
I
bottle. You know what I'm saying? I am at 7-Eleven right now, right?
Yeah, Chardonnay's pretty versatile. I mean, I like consuming Chardonnay with like chicken, any type of white fish. Usually, goes well. Chardonnay, Pinot Noir. To me
Chardonnay is a classic. Like you
It
can
is,
roll up
yeah.
with Chardonnay to a party, and I guarantee you, 30% to half the party is going to love it. They're going to be happy with that. It's a great choice. I think a more modern choice might be the Pinot Grigio, though. Just for somebody to roll up. If you roll up with that, it's for me personally, I find it more palatable, the Pinot Grigio, just because there's a little bit of a bite to a Chardonnay. That it's always been there. That's just that's part of it. And I
it
always
makes
feel
your tongue
like
feel dry. somewhat,
yeah, I always
a little
feel
bit,
like
yeah.
that one kind of
Yep.
commands more attention, whereas the Pinot Grigio, you can sip that back like we did earlier. It's like a
See,
water.
like I call it a porch pounder. Actually, it's
Yeah.
it's something you can just drink pretty easily and freely and
I like that.
enjoy it.
Love that.
Porch
Porch pounder.
yeah. But the Pinot Noir, the luscious Pinot Noir, to me is the most versatile. I think out of all wines with food is probably the most versatile wine there is, because Pinot Noir you can eat that or you can consume it, drink it with just about any kind of food. It's great with poke, any type of Pacific Rim food. It's good with obviously any kind of fish, any kind of light meats, and I like it personally even with heavier meat dishes. So Pinot is a great variety, and it's a great way to get your palate adjusted to the red wines. Maleko, when you mentioned the Chardonnay, I think Cabernet is similar on the reds, because once you drink Cabernet, it's very kind of dusty on the back palate.
Dusty. That's a
And,
great way to describe it.
But you either love it or you don't like it. One of the two.
I'm not a
There's
huge
really
Cab
no
guy.
in between.
Yeah.
But you guys will
very
get a
heavy.
chance to taste it.
Yeah.
But your palate has to get to that point where you really, you
I
want
agree
that.
with that.
You
Yeah, and
enjoy
I think
it.
Chardonnay is the same way. It's one of those things where it's not a great place to start because really the rest of the night you're kind of stuck with it.
I would agree with that. I think that you're better off with I'll call it a little bit lighter style whites with the Pinot Grigio to start, and then work your way up. I would say, too, there's a ton of different types of Chardonnay. You got really buttery ones and heavily oaked ones and all that. So
what would you
stainless
consider
steel.
the Ménage Gold Chardonnay? Where does that fall on the Chardonnay
It's kind of
range?
mid-range, I think, on that spectrum, is what I would say. But when you look at a great price value for $10 or, you get them on ad like $8.99 in some of the chains, it's a really good value.
And
All
so
right,
now
so we
we're on to
moved
the
on
red.
now. Yeah,
So
we've
we're
got the
gonna-
Shards out, the
Yeah.
Pinot Grigio's out. The one that we're trying now is the Pinot Noir. You've kind of been talking about it a little bit. This is new in the lineup of Menage a Trois,
Correct. It's
right?
relatively new. It's been around a few years now.
Yeah,
The
this one,
luscious
I remember
Pinot
when this one popped up. This one was actually, it really hits a little bit deeper than the original blends that Menage brought out.
Right.
Like this
We're
one's got a
we're gonna
nice,
actually
nice
taste
solid
the
flavor
Menage
to
Silk blend, which is a blend of Pinot Noir, Malbec, and Petit Syrah.
Nice.
We're going to do that next, but I wanted to give you the true 100% varietal to taste first, and then you can kind of contrast the two. It's a good way.
That's beautiful.
Because Menage Silk is a really popular wine as well. But I think this is a really nice Pinot Noir, and you guys enjoy those big bottles too.
This is
when
nice
you
and
get to them
dry.
down the road.
I like this nice and dry, and it's not. It doesn't have that cab.
Yeah.
Sort
And
of like
but
punch you in the
it's
gut
a lighter
at bottom.
red,
Yeah.
all right? Because once you get to the heavier reds, it's hard to go backwards.
All right, we're taking internet questions too. Angela,
interwebs.
the other Angela is watching, of course.
What other Angela? There can only be one.
We've got two Angelas now that watch regularly.
And by the way,
Angela Ludwig, or
she's
Nash
a-
Ludwig is watching.
She's our audience of one, I think, next week.
Yeah, she's coming in
Yeah.
next week. Eventually, we'll get both of you in at the same time.
Apparently-
and the world will collide.
Apparently, you can only be our audience of one if your name is Angela.
That's it.
It's a
Or
very,
Mills.
very, very niche
Or Mills.
market.
So go ahead and type in your questions. Let us know. We are taking those questions for you here, of course, as we go through the whole palette. The whole table full of Menage wines. I'd be happy to answer whatever
How do
questions
people
you have.
ask the questions? Is
Just
it on
in
the
comments, just like on Facebook, there's
On
a
the-
little
on the
box
YouTube.
underneath a post where it says comment. You type the thingy and you hit enter, and then it pops up on the interwebbies.
YouTube? This is amazing. What's Angela's
Do you want me to
question?
show it to you on your giant phone, Grandpa?
No, it's a flip phone.
Does anybody else need an
great.
explainer? All right. No, it's, she doesn't have a question. She was just Spitua. Is that what this is called? She corrected me.
Yeah, a
Oh, a
Spatula.
Spatua.
Spatua.
Ah,
I love it.
clever.
All right, so go ahead and pass around that Menage Silk.
Well, hold on.
This one is one of my favorites.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it's really good
Smart
to
is such
contrast
a
with
pusher.
that luscious Pinot Noir.
You do have that. If you can't handle it, Flash, you can use your Spitua.
Oh, gosh.
That's good.
So this is the soft red blend, the Menage Silk.
And again, that's a blend of Pinot Noir, Malbec, and Petit Syrah. So,
Also new. This one popped up a couple years ago.
well, this one's actually been
Oh,
around.
is this one
for
been
quite a
around?
while. Yeah, about
It's the
probably
blue
10
label.
10 years.
The
That's the Lavish Merlot. Yeah, I didn't bring that today.
man.
There's about 15 or
that
16.
one is
it's killer.
It's
too.
hard to
Yeah.
find too.
Yeah, and the Midnight's really good too.
That's why you didn't bring it. I'm sure. Is this what? Did you
Yeah.
pour me
Yeah,
already?
yeah.
You did.
Ha-
All right.
hand it off.
Mills, come on over here.
Don't bogart the wine.
So what I wanted to do is, I wanted to contrast the luscious
that
Pinot
bad.
Noir, with this Menage Silk, and it'll give you an idea between the 100% Pinot Noir and the blended wine, which again is primarily Pinot, but they put the Malbec, which is really interesting because there's not a lot of Malbec grown in California.
Oh man,
Isn't
what
that
a
nice?
difference!
Is that smooth or what?
Look at that. It is.
That's why they call it Silk.
I like
They
this
call
one
it
way
Menage-
better.
Yeah, they
Way
call
better.
It Menage Silk. Yeah.
This one,
Yep.
seriously,
silky.
it's silky. Like this is the one you
Silky.
put on when you've got that Bruno Mars song on.
Yep.
The new one he's got.
There's so many Menage a Trois jokes I have to not make.
Seriously.
But
He's
this
like,
is silky smooth, my
If you're
friend.
hungry,
you
he's
go.
got fillets.
Silky
and Menage a Trois
smooth.
silk.
Get on that one. Thanks.
So,
Thank you.
so
That's
okay,
so
so we
funny.
had the first one was the luscious Pinot.
Yeah.
Now we're
This is
on.
Menage Silk.
Now we're onto the Menage Silk. So you can see we've got some charcuterie here, right? The crackers and salami, and different fruits and nuts. And so, like, which one is better for that situation?
All of them.
All of them.
That's it. Or
There
the
is
cool
no
ranch.
wrong answer.
Or the
It's
cool
like-
ranch.
There's
Don't
no
like the-
wrong.
don't be
answers.
shy.
It's like the answer to the multiple choice test. You want to be E, all of the above. So, no, it's really flexible. You can
That whole
this
pairing
wine is
thing
really
is
really
something that
versatile. You can
restaurateurs
drink-
made
drink
up
it
so
with
they
anything.
could sell steak and lobster. You can drink wine with anything, Flash.
Yeah.
Newsflash.
Yeah, you like that?
Seriously.
Yeah, that's easy to drink. I mean, for
This
you know,
one.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
lime priced with the the limelight.
This is my
Let's
favorite
check
one
in
so
with our
far.
wine
Good.
expert,
Yeah.
Lauren.
Yep.
Lauren is the wine aficionado in the house.
By the
which
way,
one-
Lauren is not shy with the pours, I got to
Which
say.
one so far has been your favorite? You got to speak up because we don't have a mic on you.
Definitely so far, the silk.
The silk.
So far,
Same,
digging the
same as
silk.
me.
Yeah.
Of the four
Good.
so far.
That's
No,
great.
I mean, I'm not holding it against you, Mark,
Yep.
but I have spent a lot of money on the Merlot.
Oh, yeah, on the lavish Merlot. Yeah.
On the lavish Merlot, yeah.
Well, you know,
Well,
I,
we'll
I
get to
could
the
have brought
Merlots.
like 7 more, you know. but
Yeah.
we- you know, I
Challenge
gotta pick and
accepted.
choose.
You know, we've
But
got
no, the
time.
Merlot
we
is
can,
awesome.
We can reconvene in an
Yeah,
hour.
there you go.
know?
So of the four, audience of one, Angela, which of the four so far is your favorite?
Okay.
On the silk?
On the silk.
She's-
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm in on the silk
That-
too.
Crowd favorite.
That's
hands
actually
down.
a great segue because silk is our number 2 selling Ménage wine in Hawaii.
Okay.
And in the U.S., the number 1 seller is the Ménage Red. This was the.
That's the OG.
This is to me. You know, I think it's the number 1. I'll call it real.
That's
You know,
this
red
one's
wine
good.
in Hawaii. This is killer. This is a blend of Cabernet. It's a blend of primarily Zinfandel, and it has Cabernet and Merlot to give it a backbone. So when you taste this, that's what you're going to taste. And Ménage Red, you'll see even on the color, dark, deep red color. It's a fantastic one.
We are gonna die.
All right, Angela wants to know, as far as cooking, which white wine would you recommend to cook with?
You know, I'm not. My wife does most of our cooking.
Okay.
I'll give her credit on that.
Which I think what she means is, which one do you drink while you're cooking?
Okay.
That's a better question,
'Cause
right?
Typically, when you cook, especially if it's overheat and all that,
The
it's
alcohol
going to
burns off.
evaporate, you know,
Yeah.
just through the cooking process. But it does help with the flavor and the preparation of the food. So I think, you know, any of the white wines, you know, the Chardonnay, obviously you can always be safe with.
Mark, if
Pinot
the
Grigio's
flavor
fine,
and
too.
preparation don't matter if you just drink more.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So anyway, this, taste the red here, because this is a great contrast,
Gosh.
you know, to that silk that you just had, because those again are the top 2 selling
So
wines.
this is the OG. This is the top selling Ménage wine.
yeah.
That's
And
the
you'll
that's
see
the
why,
label that I recognize
There
the
you
most.
go.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
Put it in there. Put it in your mouth.
Yeah. And what you're
It's
going to taste
delicious.
in there, you're going to taste some Cab, Merlot, and obviously with the Zinfandel base. So,
Less talky, more drinky.
yeah. And Maleko, on the back of the palate, it's going to be a little drier too. So, like, you're
Yeah.
starting to taste that. When we get to the
Little
Cabernet,
bit.
it'll be really dry.
But you know what? Because
Yeah.
we've already gone through 4 other bottles, it's not so bad.
Now,
Yeah.
no, it's better. That's why I'm trying to.
This one's a little more fruit forward
Yeah.
than the other one.
Little drier.
And that's what the Zinfandel brings, is the fruit forwardness of it. It's not
He
sweet,
likes
sweet,
it
but it's
fruity.
fruit forward.
Loves
yeah?
it fruity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him.
Yep.
A little more dry, this one too.
Yep. So anyway, those it's a nice contrast between the two, but appreciate the comments on the Ménage Silk. I think that's a fantastic
Yeah,
bottle of wine.
I
for
think
the
so.
price.
But you know
It
what?
is this
If
too.
that one's not on the shelf, this one is just as great. In fact, because it's got that little bit of the fruitiness to it. I feel like everybody can get into this one. Like, you know, if you pour a glass of this one, even mom who likes Chardonnays only, you know, or dad who strictly sticks to cabs.
Yep.
You know, this is one that I think is a party pleaser.
That's how I feel about. I feel
no,
that way about
it's-
the silk though.
Give Ann Murata a little love on that one.
Oh yeah. By the way, Ann Murata, mother-in-law,
Yeah, yeah.
this is her go-to.
Is it okay?
This
Great.
is her go-to.
Awesome.
You know, she doesn't have milk in the refrigerator, but she's got a lot of these. And so, shout out to Ann for these. We're gonna bring this one home for you.
Speaking
Ann,
of
if
refrigerator,
whatever we
you
don't-
feel the temperature on that?
it's cold.
Yeah,
It's
actually, you know-
actually sweating here a
Yeah,
little bit.
actually, I picked that up because when I did my sample order for today, I forgot to pull one of those. So
Uh-huh.
I went to an ABC, and actually they sell them in their cold boxes there. So, you know, having a slight chill on red wine is a good thing in Hawaii.
So it
I'm
seems
glad
like
you
80 to
said that.
85 degrees.
Seems like more and more people
Yeah.
are refrigerating their red wines
Right.
now. Where do you land on that? Does
Well,
what's the difference even?
if you have your own like wine refrigerator, you know, your wine.
as
thank-
we all do, Mark.
Well, if you do have one of those, 58 to 60 degrees is great.
Okay.
If you don't, I always recommend, obviously, you put the whites in the refrigerator. You get them, I like them cold because they always can warm up, right?
Right.
But reds, I'll always put them in the refrigerator, even super premium reds for at least 15 or 20 minutes. before we consume them. Because in Hawaii, when it's 80 to 85 every day, it's
So does that? How does that
We
change?
refrigerate all of our wines.
How does that change the flavor profile?
It really does. It just
refrigerating
makes it better, because a lot of times what you'll find too on red wines, if they're especially older red wines, like if you pop it and have it for dinner that night, if you have a half a bottle left over, the next day, once it aerates a little bit and gets some oxygen, the wines actually taste better, like the next day or 2 days after. But you definitely want to keep them chilled. The worst thing for wine is heat and light.
Which we have a lot of in Hawaii.
Exactly.
Both of those.
Like if people go shopping, I've heard horror stories. People go shopping and they'll leave the wine in the back of their car when it's 85 degrees.
That's
Or even worse in Florida where it's 100 and humidity's at 80% during the summer.
Chris Mills with the studio question. How long do you aerate your wine for?
Well, there's two different types of, if I understand the question correctly. There's an aerator thing, which actually aerates it if it's an older wine. It's a device you can put in where your wine will pour through it, and the wine will be fine once you put it through that device.
Wine.
I'm just talking about like a red wine.
Popping the cork.
You pop the cork and you're going to consume it the next day, just leave it out with the cork uncorked.
The next day, Mark, if you're popping the cork, we're drinking it now.
Well, maybe
all of it.
Maybe
we don't get a lot of time.
What the hell, Mark?
Maybe it's the second or third bottle you haven't finished.
What he means is how long between 1 and 10 minutes do we allow?
1 and 2 minutes? 1 and 2 minutes.
2.
Mark, that means you got to drink.
Angela.
Angela.
This is great. Do it.
The audience needs to be.
Yeah.
Does an hour make a difference?
Yeah, it does.
For
Especially
aerating.
like if you have, say you're decanting a wine and you have it in a decanter. This is actually, obviously we're using that as a dump bucket. But if you have a decanter, what happens is if it's an older wine, you'll put it in here, all this air here will open up the wine. And if it's really old, it's going to have sediment at the bottom, and it'll stay down there when you pour it. So,
I like that you said that though, because you've totally validated what we thought is we prefer to have wines. I mean, Lauren and I we'll put them right in the fridge as soon as we come home. Let them chill while we're making dinner, and then they'll be cold for dinner.
Right.
And that's just for us. It just tastes better. It's hot outside. Hawaii. We're living in the high 80s these days, and so to have something cool with dinner. Even though it's red wine, and in the back of our heads, there's some old crotchety wine guy saying, "Don't you dare refrigerate my red wine."
No, because even like if you go to a high steakhouse or Wolfgang's or a really nice restaurant, they're going to have those wines chilled in their cellar at the temperature that I said, usually around 58, 60 degrees, and they're going to bring them out. And when you go to a restaurant like that, they're going to be chilled. They're going to be cool.
Okay.
So there's a difference between being frozen, like I'm gonna call it frozen, but like really, really cold.
Frozen.
Kind of cold.
Frozen.
Yeah, frozen.
So you want,
different kind of wine.
Want,
Also delicious.
Cool temperature is a good thing.
So now, Mark, you referenced earlier the aeration in the carafe, which gets me to the different size of the wine glass, because that's the whole point of something like a champagne flute versus like a bigger open mouth red wine glass as far as the air goes. So you want to walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, the champagne flute, obviously sparkling wine has bubbles, right? So the tighter the flute there, the more bubbles they're going to have. That's the primary reason for the flute. Like if you tried to pour champagne in like one of these glasses, it'll have bubbles, but nothing like what's going to be bubbling.
And it's going to go
in
flat
flute,
quicker, right?
Yeah. And then you have Bordeaux glasses. You have typical white wine glasses. You have Bordeaux glasses, and you have Burgundy glasses. Like in red wines. So the bigger the goblet and all that, obviously the aeration happens faster. So, and there's some great glassware out there. If you want to get into it, it can be expensive, but man, it actually can really enhance the wines. So
you can really notice a difference.
Oh yeah, definitely. With the especially like if you're drinking super premium, high-end wines and some Bordeaux's and Burgundies from France and so forth, then if they're older vintages, you want them to open up appropriately.
Okay.
Yep. Yep,
like today,
right.
Yeah.
So the last of the table wines, the sixth wine here in our
man, Mark
tasting,
is just speeding through all of this.
Is actually Cabernet.
We're banging these out.
This is the Ménage Decadence Cabernet, which is 100% Cabernet.
I like the name. So far, so good.
They got great names, Limelight.
They do.
Luscious,
I love it.
Lavish and Merlot. I'm glad I found a Merlot fan. We actually do very well with that varietal too.
Okay, so Lauren, sorry.
Yep.
Let me get this.
So Luscious and the Luscious Pinot Noir and the Decadence Cabernet came out together about 3 years ago. And what's a nice contrast here is in the Ménage Red, you have, as I mentioned, primarily Zinfandel, some Cabernet and Merlot. This is 100% Cab. So you'll have the contrast between the blend that had some Cab in it and 100% Cab.
Can we really nerd out for a second? Now you say this, so the Ménage Cab, one varietal, which means the same grape is coming from 3 different regions.
Correct.
So now when you have that scenario for a Ménage, are those 3 regions always the same?
No, it'll
Depending on the varietal?
Depends on where the varietal is best grown in the state, or what area of the state where the best grapes for that particular varietal are grown.
Okay.
One thing that's I think good for your listeners to know, and every time I have a conversation about wine, and especially if people don't know a lot about wine, what's important to know is that for varietal wines, if it's going to be like a Pinot Grigio, a Chardonnay, or a Cabernet, a minimum of 75% of the grapes that go into that wine have to be that varietal. And it can be up to 100%. And actually in Italy, it's 100%. Like to be a Pinot Grigio from Italy, you got to be 100%. In the U.S., the law is 75% in California. And the reason why they do that, it's like a chef. If he's making a dish, a specialty dish, it gives him the latitude to add other ingredients to get the to get that taste profile and the consistency of it the way they want it. So some of these are, so technically, like this Pinot Grigio could be a minimum of 75%. This happens to be 100% Pinot Grigio. But
and
again,
does that
it's up to the winemaker and how. But that's an important thing to know, because a blended wine, the percentages don't matter. It's whatever you decide to put in the blend. Now, this particular, the Silk, as I mentioned, is primarily Pinot Noir, and they blend a little bit of Malbec and Petit Verdot. The Ménage Red is primarily Zinfandel, and they blend in the Cab and Merlot to give it a backbone, where you really taste the Cabernet too. Mm-hmm. So, and that's the creativity of the winemaker, just like a great chef is basically the analogy I would use.
Hold on. Let me just interrupt you for a second, Flash. So this particular wine, out of all the ones that you poured to us, this one has the most bold presentation.
Absolutely.
Like right off the bat.
Yep.
This is it's right on the front of your mouth. Like as soon as it hits your tongue, this thing explodes. It is an incredible flavor. And as far as Cabernets go, like I've had Cabernets. Right. They don't all do that.
This is very fruit forward for a Cabernet. Yeah. Because it's young, but it also gets you on the back too of the palate with the dryness of it. So that's a great observation, because that's exactly what it does. Chris had asked, what are the top selling white varietals? Cabernet's king of reds, followed by Pinot Noir.
This is a great Cabernet. Yeah. And, I got to be honest, I haven't had this one yet. Yeah. And we drink a lot of the Ménage wines. So this one I haven't had, and I'm surprised because it's not one that is it's undersold, I would say. You're really underselling this one. This one is fantastic.
Well, and the category it's in, so there's 2 tiers of Ménage pricing. You have the blends and like the 2 whites that we had. I'll call them, they're around $9.99, $10.99. This is usually a couple dollars higher in a store. Yeah. That and the Luscious, but for the Cabernet peer group that it competes in, I think the quality of that wine is fantastic.
Yeah, I would put that one up against a handful of other wines.
This one might be my new favorite.
If anybody likes Cabernet, it's a Ménage Decadence Cabernet. And thank you for the...
it's got that the burgundy label on it with the real nice... I mean, it's got a decadent label.
And most stores will have that in their Cabernet section. You don't see it as often.
You don't see it as often. Maybe that's why I don't...
One of the things, like in a typical grocery store, what you're going to see is Ménage Red Blend, that white label jumps out.
Yeah.
Let me just grab it real quick. And what you're going to see in a typical store is you're going to have, like, if you're at a Safeway or a Foodland or whatever, you're going to see these 2 wines along with a third sister wine called Ménage Midnight, which is another blended red. They're all line priced. They're on a block in the store, on the shelf. Yeah. So it stands out. It jumps at you. These other wines, like the Luscious Pinot Noir, the Pinot Grigio, and the Cabernet, are going to be standalone, like in their varietal sections, within the Cabernet or the Pinot Noir section. Yeah. And that's why it doesn't have the presence that you would see with these blends that really jump out. They're very distinctive.
Have you considered an LED lighted green label? Blinking lights.
There you go.
Disco.
Yeah.
You know, that always sells a bottle for me.
I think I'll.
Who would do such a thing?
I don't
I think
know.
I'll consider a Maleko testimonial.
You
That'll
know, just
we'll
throw
do
it out there.
Have to put
Throw
a
some disco lights, maybe
bottlenecker on
sparklers
those.
flying off the top.
Maleko recommends.
What was the third one you were saying?
It's called Ménage Midnight.
Is that the one that's in the?
It's a black
barrels?
label.
Oh,
yeah,
the
it's a
Midnight.
black label. You
That's the one we
recognize that
can't
one
find.
too. Again, I couldn't bring them all, so
Yeah.
that and the Lavish would have been my next two on the Merlot. But yeah, so anyway, that answers your question. I
Yeah.
think about why it jumps out the way it does.
Beautiful.
Okay, so that's kind of a foundation of table wines and the Ménage story. The last two things we're going to do, we're going to radically alter your palate, and you'll see why I saved these for last. Because if I did these two first, then this wouldn't have gone well.
Okay.
Okay, because basic palate is going to go in. I took you through an order that
So
hopefully made sense to you.
We
the way
got
that
three.
your palate-
We went through six.
Six
so
wines
We got,
so
we got
far,
how many
yeah.
left?
Two left.
Tua.
Oh!
Yeah, Tua. Wow.
That's it. Don't take that. That's good. We're gonna leave
Oh,
that right there.
sweet Jesus.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. You can take it.
He's not kidding, Mark.
Awesome. Okay, so Ménage à Trois, power brand. It's done great over the years. I want to thank all the Hawaii consumers for making it such a great brand in Hawaii. I know it's my company's biggest wine brand by far, and in the U.S. it does extremely well. But
You got to be like the Heineken of wines in Hawaii, right? Like
I love the wine. The wine business is great because, I've met people over the years in my travels. I have the good fortune to travel to a lot of parts of the world, and the wine business, especially like with family-run companies, which Trinchero is a big corporation, but they're a family-run company. It's different than just dealing with corporations, where it's a different thing because, I've met so many iconic personalities, throughout, my experiences in the wine business. It's been awesome, and you learn something new every day, basically. So, which is really cool. So, they decided they wanted to. They have a sister brand called Sutter Home, which is a world famous brand, it's one of the top selling wine brands in the world. And they put White Zinfandel on the map with sweet wines back in the 70s.
Yeah.
And they decided they wanted to enter the sweet wine business, and they've had good success with the White Zinfandel and the Moscatos and some of the sweeter type wines. Stella Rosa as a brand has done fantastic. It's a really strong brand here in Hawaii.
Yep.
And, we've come with this introduction because in Hawaii, there's a really big demand for sweet wines. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a great way to start with the wine experience.
Sure.
So we've introduced our what we call Ménage Sweet Collection, which is the Dolce Red and the Moscato White.
Nice.
And I'm actually going to start you with the red, and then we'll finish with the white.
The marketing, these brands, the names are really fantastic.
their
really,
marketing
they really
department.
intrigue.
Yeah.
I think with, just the figuring out Ménage à Trois as a brand and what it means and have a real meaning to it, but have fun with it on the spin and not to be too serious about it was a brilliant, marketing move. But, at the end of the day, you got to back it up with your quality and your price value relationship. And I think they do that. So I'm going to pass this around.
All righty.
We can tell the story. So
This is the Ménage Dolce.
Dolce.
Right off the bat, as he's holding it,
Yeah.
I can tell the consistency of the wine has changed.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that and why that is and why it appeals to young consumers.
Look
You
at that.
guys have
Angela,
seen-
by the way, serving up chocolates and cheeses now.
There you go.
That's appropriate as we head into the sweet section of the wines.
You,
How you doing over there, audience of two? You guys wasted yet?
Everyone's got a drink, Maleko. Come on.
right.
This is
Oh my God.
totally,
Oh, yeah. Now, this-
totally different.
So you have the
this
seltzer-
tastes like a seltzer.
The seltzer craze that's going
Yeah.
on right now, and this is a real wine spin-off on it.
This
my
is.
God.
I'm
Good
just.
way
Gonna,
to-
this tastes like a
This
like
is
a
so
truly
fun.
or
The
something.
colder the better.
This
right?
is so fun.
Yeah. So this is actually
You just
Oh my
blew
God.
my mind.
Oh, is it? So yeah. Yeah, so you understand, see how it kind of cleanses your palate? It's almost
bubbly.
like dessert after
It's-
the main course.
Oh my
This
God,
is
this is
beach
fantastic.
wine.
Yeah, it beats wine.
What is your porch
Seriously.
pounder? Porch pounder.
You'll learn your new tune. Porch pounder's a good one for wine.
And even the carbonation is
Oh, yeah,
even a little
and
different.
it's a subtle carbonation on the back end. They do that by design. So this wine is...
Oh, man, this is fun.
This wine is actually a blend of Moscato, which is a green grape, like a typical white wine grape, which is in this, and then they add in Zinfandel and some Syrah. So the Zinfandel.
Oh man, this
gives
is
it,
yummy.
obviously, the red grapes give it the red color.
Come on. This is wine.
That's
I'm going
wine.
to stop
It's
you
real
there.
wine. No,
Because
it
this
is-
is
yeah.
this is truly
And it's got,
in a jar.
You taste the blackberries and the blueberries and all that.
It
That's
is.
all by design.
Look,
yeah,
if you've been
on your
drinking
palate.
seltzers over the
yeah.
past 2 summers, and who hasn't, right? I mean, look at this
Oh,
guy.
yeah, White
This
Claw,
guy isn't.
Truly.
This guy isn't an East Coast seltzer drinker. I've never seen one. This truly is. This is grape soda.
There you go.
This is it.
But it gives you-
Alcoholic
it's-
grape soda.
There you go.
And by the way,
Amazing.
we mean that as a compliment.
Yeah.
That is
Oh no,
fantastic.
that's
This is super
absolutely
fun.
a compliment. Pick
Yeah.
this one up.
That one is you and I will.
This is the Ménage Dolce Red. You can find it in just about any store in Hawaii
Oh
now.
my gosh, you
That
just
is
this
very
really gets
dangerous.
product.
my
Very
outlook on
dangerous.
wine.
Yeah. So that, again, it's varietal wise, you guys, to be a varietal, what's the minimum percentage grape it's got to be?
75.
75. Good. You're learning. Up to 100. So this
Wow, look
has
at your
Moscato.
memory.
If it's
in it.
American.
There you go. It's got
Nice recall,
Zinfandel
Flash.
and it's got some Syrah in here that makes it red looking. And, the colder the better, right? You go out on the beach or
Yeah.
you go out in the park or
I
wherever.
put that
this
on
stuff is
ice.
Good. Yeah.
That's
So
fantastic.
Ménage Dolce Red. And this is its cousin, the white. So this is called Sweet Moscato.
But he's right. See, if we would have started with this, it would have been weird.
Oh, hold on.
Oh,
Audience question.
Angela.
Just- Is it in
Oh.
cans?
Or can you put it in cans, or does it have to be in a bottle? Good question,
Actually,
Angela.
it's funny you brought that up. Stella Rosa does make cans.
They do have a can on it, yes.
Yeah.
To answer the question is yes, they could, but they've chosen not to, at least at this point in time. They want to sell it in
Yeah.
bottles.
They want you to
Yeah.
pretty you're drinking wine.
Yeah, exactly.
Even
I
though
like
it's
that.
Clearly seltzer.
No, I like that. I feel like more of a man if I'm drinking it out of the wine.
Well, anything you can do can help.
What's interesting on the white is that this is actually Moscato, so it's got
He just ignores all of our
Yeah.
jokes and focuses on the wine.
He has no idea how this show works.
that's great.
Is this thing on?
Mark, you've gotten us drunk.
Yeah,
You
there
have
you go.
suc-
Mark,
have
it's okay to
succeeded.
laugh at our jokes.
You have succeeded.
It's good for a Wednesday afternoon.
Mills with the, but you're not funny though, crack.
Thanks, Mills. Thank you.
So smell on the nose. You smell
This is
the
wait, hold on.
melons and all that. The melon, the honey. The
Mark, I love how you're
This one-
keeping us on track, Mark.
This
But
one
is the
down back
Moscato.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is more because this is 100% Moscato in here. All right. And it's got, doesn't have, the
But it's
blend
the
that this
same
one
sort
has.
of viscosity
Oh, yeah.
and carbonation
Yep.
level
Yep.
of the Dolce.
Exactly.
Oh, these are fun.
Oh, they are.
These
yeah.
are fun.
They're easy to drink. And again, like if somebody just wants, we used the term porch pounder earlier. That's, these things are easy.
Yeah, really,
These
you really
are-
have fun,
bookended
yeah.
the experience here.
These are
exactly.
first date cocktails.
There you go.
For sure.
Yeah. And if I were born today and I were 21 today, I'd probably have this as my
Mark, I don't know if
starter
you
wine.
know how biology
Yeah.
and life works, but if you were born today, you would not be 21 today.
Yeah, but if you were 21 today or
You would be
thereabouts,
born 20 years
21
ago
years ago.
today.
That's true. Yeah.
You're so smart, Flash. I don't know how I keep up with you.
Yeah. You would. I would
It's
have
a
been
mystery. I think we should just keep making jokes and see what Mark's reaction is going to be.
He's waiting for this pain to be over.
Would have
Is what
been
it is.
what did they call that? YK2. YK2.
Y2K.
Yeah.
Y2K.
Y2K.
Damn.
Yeah.
Scary that I remember Y2K.
Y2K.
Oh, I do.
remember that too.
Yeah. All
Remember it
right.
well.
Wow, we just got old.
Yeah. But anyway,
Okay,
that's the
so-
newest of what's happening.
Those
on
are
the Ménage
fun.
front.
That
So,
is
yeah.
fantastic. And unexpected, I would say. Particularly because, like I said, you can tell by the consistency of the bottle. Wines will crawl off the sides of the glass.
Yeah.
And this one in particular, it feels like a refreshing beverage.
Yep.
Something that you can pour at the beach. It's perfect for summertime.
Right.
in both red and white. In fact, I would grab one of each or two of each and take those with you to your
Two
next
of each.
barbecue for sure.
Interesting. Also, summertime year-round here in Hawaii, so it's always time for
Yeah,
those.
true
But,
story.
to Angela's point, if you put those in cans, people aren't as surprised because they sort of expect more of that. But because it's out of a bottle, we were all had the same reaction of like, oh my God, this is completely unexpected.
Yeah, that could happen down the road. It's interesting. I don't know if you guys are aware, but like there's been a major can shortage this past year.
Yeah.
Like
I
even
didn't
with
know
beer brands, like
Shortage
Coors,
of everything.
I mean, it's been brutal. Just on supply of aluminum. And even for the big beer,
I didn't know that.
beer
Yeah.
producers, it was like they couldn't get the cans and supply and all that. So it was a big deal. But anyway. Now, this has been fun with you guys.
Well,
today.
we're
This has
not
been
done,
great.
Mark.
Yeah.
Now,
This is great. We're going to go back and we're going to do them all one more time.
There you go.
Mark, we're only
Well, I
reaching
know
the
you-
halfway point of the show.
We'll come back for seconds.
Hold on, Chris Mills has a question.
Yes, sir.
Studio question.
How much do these sweet
How-
brands make up the wine purchasing market?
How much do the
it's-
sweet brands make up the wine
That-
purchasing
That's
market?
actually a great question.
Great question, Chris
I
Mills.
think they're about 6% of the total right now, but they're one of the fastest growing categories.
So let's
yeah.
talk about that trends. Rosé, big trend the last few years. Sweeter wines, big trend the last few years. Bubbles seem to be more popular than ever. What's the sort of the next thing in wine that you see in the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years from now? Where are we going next? Where's Ménage going next?
I wish I were that good.
Is it a foursome?
I wish I were that good on Wall Street. You've seen what's happened the last week.
Yeah,
It's
are we still
It's
in
kind of
the-
like guessing, But I think that the blended category is huge. It's here to stay. I think the key wine drivers as far as varietals have been pretty well established.
Yeah.
But I mean,
You know,
rosé went from being an embarrassing thing to drink, that's what your parents drank, to
Well,
now it's the
we
cool
were featuring
thing.
rosé on the show a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, and the distributor told us at the time, this is where it's going. This is why Hawaii.
Yeah.
This is what Hawaii needs because it's perfect for Hawaii's environment. And now, 2 years later, in retrospect, it's like rosé was nice for the time. Seltzers took over, and now you've got seltzer wine, which is a total.
But
game changer.
the rosé to seltzer, there's a correlation there between the rosés and the seltzer.
I
the
think so.
lighter,
Like rosé,
fruitier,
a
sweeter.
lot of stuff becomes retro. Retro becomes cool again.
Yeah.
You look at a brand like Pabst Blue Ribbon, right? Pabst back in the day was a huge brand. Then it became, tough times for a number of years. Then it became cool again. That's what happened with rosé, because then you had a whole new.
Our audience
There you go.
of two is now just straight
just
up
grabbing
stealing wine.
Our audience
Stealing
poocher.
wine.
Our audience.
Did you get that on camera?
He's pooching your Cabernet there, Maleko.
Listen here,
Funny.
buddy.
He's no dummy.
Hold on. I'm gonna
That's
echo
great.
Chris Mills.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, thank you for
what I
joining
do
us
think,
today.
though, just to answer that question,
Yeah.
though, it's a great question. Is I think that the seltzers are going to lead to whatever's next.
Never gotta do that.
As far as consumer, what they like and what they want to go for.
I think you do think the seltzers
Oh,
are informing what happens next in
Absolutely.
wines?
The people that are drinking White Claw and Truly and
Flash.
Corona and
I
all
was
those
gonna say my
brands, they're
sister,
gonna
for
gonna
sure.
trade up to other stuff.
Yeah,
because
you know,
that's
they're-
what the natural palate will do.
Don't put
over
this in
time.
cans
Yeah.
because there's a class factor to pouring it out of a bottle.
Absolutely.
I mean, rolling up with
Absolutely.
a six pack of your White Claw.
Yeah.
That's bro code. That is frat boy status.
Yeah.
Versus if you roll up with a bottle of the Dolce,
Yeah.
Yeah.
game changer.
Well, I'll give you an example. I'll give you a little history. Yeah. I'll give you a little history here. In the mid '80s, I worked for the Seagram Wine Company before we moved to Hawaii, and I ran a big part of the Western U.S. for them. And we had Seagram's coolers.
Hashtag humble brag.
Yeah, no, we had Seagram's coolers at the time, which became a huge wine brand, along with Bartles and James.
Oh, I was just
from,
gonna say, I
Gallo
thought-
and
yeah.
California Cooler.
Right.
But Seagram's coolers is a huge
wine
brand.
coolers, yeah.
And what happened was that whole generation that was consuming wine coolers big time, that's the generation that's consuming all these seltzers right now. to a large extent, and it's the new consumers. And what happened with that?
Wait, what do you mean? It's the same generation,
No,
or that
no,
the
it's
same
a similar type
age?
profile. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a young
Same-
profile.
same kind of person.
To maybe mid-30s.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
type,
like-
or the people that are drinking it, but it's 21 to mid-30s.
Sure.
And they're going to determine
It's your
where they...
your entree into the alcohol world because it's so
Absolutely.
easy and palatable.
It's lower alcohol. It's easy to consume.
So are
you
you
know?
telling me that
So-
wine coolers and seltzers are the same product?
No, they're not the same product, but
They're similar.
But,
But they're marketed to the same market.
I'm using the analogy of
No,
who-
yeah, I get it.
of who's buying them and
Yeah.
why they're buying them.
Yeah.
And I think what happened in the 80s, they used to, like, the jug wine business was huge in the 70s and
Oh,
80s.
yeah, I remember
The
that.
big 1.5, 3-liter bottles, big bottles.
Mom would roll
And
up
then-
with the giant
yeah.
with the jugs, man.
Yeah.
They'd be in
Yeah,
the house.
Exactly.
Your mom
what
had-
happened, though,
Yeah.
those were called generic wines. Those were
I'll
like...
talk about my
yeah.
mom.
Yeah, most of those were like... That's funny. Yeah,
We finally
Carlo
got
Rossi.
him. We finally got him.
God,
that was good.
Hello.
That was
It
good.
took 52
Tua.
minutes.
Jeez, Tua.
Tua.
It took 52 minutes and 8 bottles of wine.
And a mom joke.
Mark finally cracked.
I relate.
I didn't
I
even
related
make
to
the
your mom
joke.
joke.
You didn't.
That was
I
funny.
alluded
You're
to
lucky
it.
you didn't.
That was good.
Also, I like how he didn't laugh. He just goes, "That was funny."
Yeah.
That was good.
Acknowledge.
Yeah, but what happened though is those consumers that were drinking the jug wines and all that, they started moving to varietal wines
Yeah.
and better wines, and that was an offshoot of what happened off that cooler,
The wine coolers.
the Bonanza when
Yeah.
all that happened. And that was a huge business.
Huge.
But it
That was
reminds me
massive.
of where the seltzer, and this seltzer thing's even bigger than that though, because
Yeah.
you have the big boy brands involved, with Corona and Budweiser.
They're all last man of the party.
And,
White Claws
you have,
outselling all
obviously
of
the
them.
White Claws and Trulies of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, you got some powerful brands there, but for the
It's a big market to compete with.
So it'll be interesting, and I'm not. I wish I had a better fortune teller.
Angela
Gene in me,
Sakamoto.
I think you're in a good place, though. I
Audience
think
of one,
you-
Angela,
you've
what's your
established
question?
yourself.
So I took a quiz.
She took a quiz. You took a Facebook quiz.
Test.
So hold on. So Angela took a quiz.
Was Limelight.
Yes,
What did she
Pinot
say?
Grigio.
Wait, Angela, you took a quiz online and your
Which
Ménage à
Kardashian
Trois
are you?
flavor is Limelight.
This is the first wine we took, the Pinot Grigio, Limelight.
There you
Limelight Pinot Grigio. Yeah.
Okay, good. I did like it.
Okay,
All right.
good.
There you go.
Right. What other
What was your
questions I have
question?
there?
I don't know.
That wasn't a
She
question.
just wanted to know if her Facebook quiz was accurate.
Out of the Limelight.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is. And now they have your social
Angela,
They like
did you
it.
not pay attention the first 10 minutes of the podcast where all we talked about was Limelight? This blackout mode after 8 bottles, it's rough.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, Mark, we
That's
want to
awesome.
thank you for joining us here today. Mark Milton, by the way, with BM&M.
Be M&M.
Incredible selection of wines from one company. If you're looking for something you want to try, you're just not sure what you want to get, you're rolling up to a party, you're not sure what's appropriate, the Ménage à Trois brand has not just the ones that we presented here, but I mean, there's got to be at least 4 or 5 others that you didn't bring today. All fantastic tasting wines. And I think you can't go wrong if you roll up with one of the 2 in the middle that we selected here today. We were talking with the,
Okay,
with the
so-
soft,
and the,
soft
red-
red, the
yeah.
silk red blend,
Are those your
and
2
then the
favorites?
original white label. Those 2, I think, are the most palatable across the board.
But are those your of the 8? Those are your 2 favorites.
Yeah, I think on a daily basis, those are my 2 favorites. On a case by case basis, if I'm hanging out by the pool, I'd be down with the Dolce
Sure.
or the Moscato. And I think if I had to roll up and somebody was like, "Please bring white wine," I mean, I would start with the Pinot Grigio.
Okay, so Lauren.
Where do you find
Oh.
these wonderful wines?
Oh,
We talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
You get them anywhere from
Jeez.
7-Eleven.
We got-
to
you're
Full
like
Red.
Angela. You're not paying attention.
Yeah. You know what I think? The easier question would be, where aren't you?
Yeah.
Literally
Well, it depends
nowhere.
on the retail. The club stores have limited distribution, so like the red you're going to find everywhere.
Yep.
Silk will be in some of those stores, and then the other ones we have.
Where can we find the Dolce and the Moscato?
They're pretty much widespread distribution in Hawaii right now.
Nice.
you
But
know?
so they're not what you're to your point earlier, where some of these brands are more recognizable in a store
Yep.
than others, even though they're all there,
Yep.
is because the Ménage, the original red, is with 2 other bottles on either
Yeah, you
side
gotta
of
go
it.
to
Right,
the
in the
special
blended
section.
section.
Versus
These will
Ménage
be in
is
the
just like
varietal
off by
section.
itself. Yeah.
These 2 wines will be wherever Stella Rosa is. That's where we'll be with these.
Okay.
These 2.
Okay. Now, Lauren, which of the 8 was your favorite? If you had to pick one.
Silk.
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 Silk. Okay, so Chris Mills, what was your
The Cabernet.
the Decadence?
Decadence.
Chris Mills, audience of one, Angela. The Moscato.
Moscato.
The
All right.
white- The sweet white.
We're all over the board
Okay,
in the room.
that's good.
That's good to
Hey,
know.
You know, that's typical. I mean, I tell people on wine, all that really matters is what you like and what you're willing to spend. You know,
I
and
think all that
there's
really
different
matters is how
occasions. It
drunk
is.
you get.
Yeah.
That's what really matters.
Well, you got to like it though.
Yeah,
there's
it's-
Well,
a
I mean,
big
after-
difference between
That's
getting a good
only
buzz
for the
on
first
it
3
with something
glasses.
you like.
By the 4th glass, it doesn't matter whether you like it or not. You're
Well,
just
you are a lightweight, aren't you?
you're good to go.
Ladies
Well,
and
listen,
gentlemen, please
hey.
give it up for Mark again.
Yeah.
and
Oh,
the
wait, Mark
Menage.
had something
Hey,
to say.
let's do it again with spirits sometime down the road. I'd love to do
Tequilas.
that with you.
Would
Tequila.
tequilas be the one for you?
There you go.
Is that your go-to?
Yeah, or whiskey. You know, either one's
Oh,
good.
gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to have you back at
Okay.
least 2 more times.
Mark, it's been great hanging out with you.
Thank you,
Angela,
gentlemen.
our audience of one. Mills the Mooch.
Mills
Thank you all so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
Wow.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already.
Hit it.
YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. And, of course, you can visit our website, MalekoandFlash.com. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought of the show. Ask your questions. We'll answer them as soon as we can. And we'll be back next week with a whole new show on Wednesday afternoon with...
We have national touring comedian Graham Elwood is going to be with us over at Shorefire Waikiki in the international marketplace. Then the week after that, July 7th, we are interviewing Powwow Worldwide co-founder Jasper Wong at his gallery installation inside of Bishop Museum live while the museum is open.
It's going to be the
What
most...
could go wrong?
It's going to be the most interesting show we've ever done, and I guarantee you're going to have a lot of fun. Hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss a beat. Thanks for watching Maleko and Flash. We'll see you next time.